to, it's been brought into my awareness for probably at least a few months. Somebody requesting pulling cards with regards to the global political, geopolitical, right, affairs that, we're all witnessing on our phones. And of course, depending on the media stream that you're engaged with, and more than likely your own kind of algorithmic consciousness, you're being fueled with more than likely certain divisive constructs. Hi, if you're new, I'm MJ. I'm the host here at Ultra Love TV, one of my platforms for engaging and sharing what I do with Ultra Love, a brand that I started back in 2012. And I've been on an intuitively guided, what people could call spiritual journey, and even with indicators in my own birth chart of having a certain spiritual insight. And I'm here to share that with you alongside different healing tools. And of course, my favorite tools, yoga and tarot. So my patrons get ad-free first access, and for now, I'm just doing the tarot shorts because they seem to be working best with the algorithms. But I cannot help myself when I feel guided to talk about the things we might be seeing going on in the world from a kind of broader spiritual perspective, a heart-centered perspective, and those of us who are kind of truly here to be of service in a way to make the world a better place for as many people as possible, right? Knowing that there's layers and nuance to that, but truly, truly, for all genders, races, classes, wanting this earthly experience, to be more beautiful because it has that potential. So one thing that kept coming in last night, with regards to our witnessing or the inception of pretty potentially volatile, violent, radical, it is in different parts of the world, right? And how the brutality, the cruelty, the division, and then the media manipulation in as far as gaslighting. This is again invoking a really intense rage and pointing to a very uncomfortable powerlessness with regards to the rise of authoritarianism, and also recognize the connection between the global rising of dominant military powers that are all interconnected, east, west, north, south, wherever we're looking at it from. But of course, recognize there are still a few pure places on the planet and nations that are fairly autonomous and peacekeeping. So we want to bear that in mind with regards to systems that have been laid down for us, places, little pockets of hope that we can endeavor to feel into, and again help our own beingness to anchor into greater love and unity. So there's something rather profound and miraculous with regards to the global awakening, in as far as the way that we're all connecting with phones and technology is really truly symbolic and a representative of the recognition, the realization, the actualization of our quantum interconnectivity. So witnessing wars in certain parts of the country, if we can even say they're wars, because some of it is just pure delusional, psychopathic, genocidal actions, for power grab, stealing, which has really kind of been ongoing. See the connection tracing from capitalism in our historical framework and context, a colonialist, empirical, right? Like, so the empires that use brutality and violence to dominate, to steal, and then to usurp, the connection to the land specifically, which is where a lot of cities and a lot of our kind of false matrix are actually built upon certain ley lines of the planet that distort our ability to connect to the planet. And thus, as autonomous beings in places, either we can be completely disconnected, and or there's hindrances to that connection, which is where people travel or people have experiences in different parts of the world, and those might be their activation points, right? So the heart connection is super duper vital. We know this brain heart coherence, even for a healthy mind body spirit complex. But that deeper spiritual knowing that we're all unified here, and that, again, as brutal as it might be to be witnessing wars and genocides and things on our screens, that's also like a gateway to recognize our interconnectivity, that nothing is separate, that the military war complex is being fed by our own self-denial, potential betrayal, and just being blind consumers in a capitalist structure that prioritizes profit over people, right? And or even profit over the well-being of our shared planet, which is still the profit over people, right? You can't separate the environmental stuff that's going on with the military stuff that's going on, with the economic crises that are going on, and our own human consciousness, our own state of being on this planet, right? So hence where, this idea of patriarchy or old paradigm is sort of crumbling from underneath itself, while simultaneously there are people, places, and things all over the planet that are also anchoring in and structuring in the coding of a higher harmonic. But recognize it's all seated within the evolutionary construct of the planet herself, and even the entire cosmos. So this is where coming out of our heads, intellectualizing and rationalizing is part of the journey, and surrendering to the divinity, because it's not individually up to us. It's something divine. It's something miraculous. It's something that has been unfolding ever, always, eternally, right? And we are the blessed to be able, and we, as in all the totality of the human experience and the creatures on this planet, are the chosen people to be able to have the experience. That's part of the grace. That's part of the gratitude of, like, oh my God, I'm human and I get to be here. And like, working through enough of our emotional shadow, aka ancestral lineage, aka karmic souls, contracts, to experience the totality of our beingness, to hold more empathy, compassion, right? Because a lot of it is all crunchy and uncomfortable emotional things that we have to work through to get to the other side of greater clarity via purity, via our connection to the heart, right? So empathy to end oppression. Truly, it's our empathic heart. It's putting ourselves in everybody else's shoes always, to have a deeper understanding. Understand through compassion, or you misunderstand the times, rather than projection, rather than putting our emotions onto other people. You're making me feel like this because you're doing this or you're doing that. And sitting with self long enough to feel into that discernment, right? This is where it can be a long and steady road of greater solitude and silence to access our own internal wisdom, um, which is often where I'm seeing that biofeedback loop too of, beware of how much I'm engaging with the internet, because so often it's really easy to live in our own echo chamber of hearing people say something like, yeah, that's my experience, but actually it's divisive. And it's really easy, whether it's race war, whether it's gender war, whether it's economic class, right? Privilege, when with regards to our access to resources, not to deny the existence of that division that has been manufactured and created, right? To keep the aspect of our common humanity denied, right? To keep our sense of power under a certain sort of frequency, and thus our ability to project a different reality. Um, So knowing truly that that true empathy will keep purging the shadow until there's the clarity of vision. And the vision, from my perspective in the here and now, is always slow, always connected to the planet, and kind of inclusive with regards to the potentiality of its just potential, really. So healing is creating new systems, thus usurping the old ones. So it's simply by focusing on these new systems, which are happening all over anyway, all the time. But more and more and more people stepping into their empowered healing regenesis to then be fueled by the regenesis of the planet herself, which is also God's grace and or the cosmic connection that we all have, because it's not separate, right? Like our earthly experience isn't separate from our cosmic experience, and vice versa, right? We're all unified within this quantum reality. This is part of the bridging, right? That we're not anchored in, like, I'm separate from my body and the world is a scary place. We're unifying our perception, which is a greater, higher harmonic via love, via empathy, but also the godly perspective of being able to see everything from lots of different perspectives. This, like a higher intelligence, people say, you know, higher self, higher mind, right? So we're accessing via deeper emotional awareness, via empathy, to then reunify our field and basically just trust. Right? Because we're not operating from the old operating system where we dominate and control. And this is where it continues even in my own personal reality to blow my mind, right? Because it's not in my personal thinking realm. That would be limited. It's always happening here and now. And it's purely from surrendering and letting everything kind of come in, that it's like, now I'm doing this, now I'm doing this, right? So in the here now. And yet, again, in a more simple human sense, I would say that the shadow aspect would be often coming right back home. So like very literally for me, I'm back in my homeland of Canada where I was born and raised, having an experience, shedding old patterns, seeing them for what they are in truth, but also healing the family system, right? Healing my relationship to my sister, to my father, to my mother, thus healing it with greater clarity within self to endeavor greater expansion. All of it is also greatly shape-shifting my perception of relationships within the confines of the old paradigm, but then also visioning and feeling into the potential of new relationships. And you know, having to be authentic, simultaneously feeling into potential realities, but truly being authentic within that kind of initial resonance code, because knowing in truth the density with which we're indoctrinated. So, you know, that we're still having to trust our own self because we might be the holders of space for other people to shift. Rather than being entrapped in more oppressive, enslavement, abusive, and or control patterns, right? Because these are such blind spots that we want to control one another to feel in control ourselves, right? That's part of the kind of nuance of it. So DNA, so divine, so via the shadow work, we activate the divine DNA codes, which are really the same parts of ourselves that keep us protected and in love, like help us to be in that regenesis of continuing to find greater love, empathy, wisdom, compassion. Healing is creating new systems and thus usurping the old ones, right? So again, that's that thing of like, we focus on the healing regenesis, the new worlds and new systems are simply unfolding one in the same. Because again, it's some areas of the planet, they never went away. Even though we might think that corporate has taken over everything, it's not true. You know, there is divine intervention. There is, we can go doomsday and woe, oh God, it's all horrible, which it is on lots of levels, right? Depending on what you're looking at. But that's not the future. Just like Y2K wasn't the end of the world. Just like there's all these predictive things, but these are just metamorphoses. These are transformations of our consciousness, which again, when we look over the course of time, just like the internet has greatly changed our reality over the course of time, those realities keep changing. And this is where people speak about the bifurcation. I also have spoken about that which sometimes takes the mind to a place of abstraction, which is fine, but it's like truly, truly having just a more broader spectrum, like potentials of realities on the planet, which can just be like how different one country is from another, right? And we'll have pockets of potentially higher technology, or like Wally, or different projections of different places and how they look and how they're connected to an enslavement system, versus like tribes and people and constellations of people that are more in harmony with the land, with touchstones of kind of higher, much higher technological enforcement to support a greater creative outpouring from a higher harmonic of the human being, right? So then I just wrote the global unity construct is what's coming in through the harshness of our viewing of brutal regimes and brainwash psychology. It truly is just the cruelty. It's the cruelty with which some armies and militaries and stuff have the ability to act out, and that's also via the brainwashing, right? And that's trusting in the unfolding, that the time for those people's awakenings, etc., etc., will also come. Not losing faith, not losing hope, but trusting in your guided protective path, because that's what helps to keep your container safe. We're not all meant to have the same experience. We're all here for different reasons, right? So trust in the inner guidance for safety and security, building new structures, and that, like, even when it's rough, that's been my experience. It's not like trust your inner guidance is always going to lead you to the rainbow. It's not like that in the earthly experience. Your inner guidance is going to be like, but there's continual surrenders, like continual, like, I don't know what I'm doing here, and da 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 da, and you just have to trust, and you'll flow, and you'll flow, and you'll flow, and then you'll eventually kind of like be riding higher waves of existence, but you're also energetically broken free from the entanglement of this system. And that is also part of the miracle. You're not energetically bound. So even when your bank account is low, it doesn't trigger you the same way. Certain authority bodies won't be chasing you anymore. I could kind of go into that deeper, but there's also, like, again, people on the ground, awakened souls on the ground, who are doing you could say more like intellectual work to help. And then there's people in the higher level and like the spiritual. So it's like, because you can go via the earth grid and break free, or you can go via spiritual psychological warfare stuff to break free, but they both work either side, right? So doing the spiritual work will lead you to break free on the physical. Doing the physical work will lead you to break free on the spiritual, if that makes sense. So yeah, and it truly is that. This is, I'm not just like talking when we don't know, but like it's real, it's visceral. You will end up having broken free from engaging in those systems. And I'm only speaking from experience, is that it's wild, and then you just feel it and know it, and it's physical too. Like, those systems can't trace you anymore, those systems can't touch you anymore, because one for all for one. Those of us who have the privilege, the insight, and or the grace to be able to pursue that are doing it not to manifest nicer cars, but to manifest a system of justice rather than injustice and criminality, right? So my own personal freedom is the freedom for all humans on the planet, and true justice, divine law, right? And knowing how that works, and knowing that the people acting out are also going to have their comeuppance, right? Like we all have. When you do the deeper shadow work, it's like, what have you done? But we're all working through those deeper shadows based in various or multiple timelines on a certain density level. That's the purging of density to rise up a broader, higher ideally more beautiful and loving, harmonic for the planet, which is the codes within us and the potentials that we set up for, that we signed up for, rather. So we're building new structures via Earth's grounded love and inspiration. This is the miraculous manifestation, not a controlled manifestation. And by controlled, I really mean like a manufactured and or like a manipulated one, which is different. This is where we get the kind of layer of like law of attraction manifestation teachings that are actually based in the same shit. As in marketing manipulation tactics, corporate greed, egoic function, that keep everybody still anchored in the same shitty paradigm, right? And weirdly, like, will still trigger a lack of worth, unworthiness, etc., versus like the radiance energetic that can actually help raise one another up, so that you have the visceral understanding of how to be safe here. I'm using that rather than saying how to manifest your dreams. Being safe, truly loving yourself is everything you need. You don't need to manifest, because that kind of in a way is the same but different words of like work hard, you gotta do, you gotta be special, you gotta be important. No, your existence is more than enough. And healing through love and healing through deeper compassion, forgiveness, whatever works, right? On the internal level is shedding the density of old and then coming into greater safety in your own body to then create the safety in your environment and then the safety of the world. Because if we were all practicing that higher harmonic of love and safety, then the whole world would be a more loving and safe place. Which is why more and more women are also taking that stage to go, this is not good enough. We want to heal and we want to love and da 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 da. So that these sort of insecure, represented in our social construct, represented dominantly by men, right? To allow them to kind of step down or be taken down. Again, it will just unfold miraculously. But there, we don't even need to focus on that. There's love there for these wounded humans acting out these horrible atrocities. But it's painful, right? Because it comes from pain, it comes from fear. So to stop focusing there and go, well, okay, what would be a better system? What would be a better role than more and more women included, rather than old paradigm where women were often killed and shunned and controlled and objectified. So now we're living in a time where women have the freedom and access to build upon their empathic outpouring. That's the purity versus the overlays and the shadow work depth with authenticity, right? So we're not looking for saintly, I am a guru and I talk like this, or, I'm more spiritually evolved because I act like this. So they're like, ooh, because it purely is the connection and being human and having all of our issues and our da, but still walking the walk and talking the talk to the best of our ability. Listening from within, there's no external seeking, which is where I got the message the other day of like, be aware of how much we're watching, because we end up just in our own little echo chamber. It's quite easy at this stage to have mental overload and or overstimulation. That's the echo chamber again, right? Like the screen addiction can, in an instant, reflect back to us a limited belief that we want to believe that affirms our ego versus the truth. More masters to show love's creation, empowered creators versus culty gurus. This is anchored in old paradigm power systems. See, we're not, and this is where I can intuitively, usually, not always, because I'm not always trying, but the culty guru vibratory is usually in larger group think, and somehow, some way, it's again still anchored in old paradigm. So the money, the systems, the da are pulled rather than somebody going through a truly authentic spiritual journey. which is where we relinquish and let go of all of the attachments, right? At least for periods of time before we're placed in a position to be able to re-systematized, which just is what it is. It's different, as in then talking all the talk and even performing all of the stuff, but it's not like, it's not coming from a truly held quantum connection of being in service to the totality. It's still layered and kind of egoic, like, isn't this nice to be in power or have things or like be cool or whatever the fuck, right? Oh yeah, empower creators versus costly. Yeah, okay. Solitude in visionary thinking. And this part of it is that like the truer spiritual leaders will rise up, and there's just a reality of the solitude, the authenticity brought about from within that solitude, which I guess is just a very like, it's just what is. It's like that's right? Like there's a certain amount of just spaciousness and quietude one is cultivating to offer up that level of authenticity, not via AI and ChatGPT, via your heart, because the heart is still going to be the trump, the higher technology from all the projected technology that we have created, which is not good. I mean, it's not bad or good. It's like there's still uses of modern medicine. There's still really great things of pharmaceuticals, but we don't want to surrender our power to these forces. Some no different than spiritual teachers or AI, that we're not surrendering our personal power, which is right here in your body, in your beingness, right? So then solitude and visionary thinking, there's a pushback and insert of people who want to control. So that's a constant. And I read with regards to like always in the discernment to be listening to the first response, which is the intuition. But this is where that deeper like raw truth, like the profundity of truth, the polarity of the light and the dark, the broad spectrum of multidimensionality. It's not airy fairy, and it certainly isn't a love and light. Intuition is like, because it will show you the darkness coming. Yeah, right? And to be able to, in the fullness of your heart, hold space for the totality, which is where that pain comes in. Because we're still shifting and purging a lot of horribly low densities, which are painful to witness. And yeah. So, my lovers, let's pull some cards. Thanks for listening to my this first blurb fest. If you enjoy the shares, feel free to sign up to my patrons to get out free first access. And if you be resonating, feel free to share the brand or support the brand by buying. You can buy some merchandise. You can buy my book on Amazon, Kindle, and Audible. Yeah, that's, I personally don't shop on Amazon, or as little as possible, but I haven't done in years. But I'm grateful for the fact that I can sell my book there. To each their own, you know. As the brand grows, I will likely loop it, be able to get copies just for myself, and then kind of be able to, for the people who choose to boycott Amazon, you'll be able to buy the book from me personally. We're just not there yet. But if you want to support the channel, you can even just donate via my PayPal, which is my email address. And otherwise, let's pull some cards. So the collective energetic spiritual insight for the global affairs at the minute. There's going to be a lot of movement. Also illumination. illumination from within despair, illumination that comes out of nowhere, movement, and that's an empowered movement of changing the power. The Hierophant reverse, keys are being exchanged. There's a shift of power that's actually happening. There's the Eight of Pentacles, so it's like putting the work in to create the change, putting the work in to empower ourselves. Why is the King of Wands reverse? Right away, I could get a sense of, again, authority figures that abuse their power, shifting powers, people coming at those people, right? Toppling structures and the people moving toward the people that abuse the power. Ending of a pattern here, ending of long-standing power, distorted power structures. So that's coming to close. Why is Priestess reversed? Something about still having to hold our own and or discern with regards to maybe romantic relationships or how we're feeling about romance in general. High Priestess in the reverse with the Knight of Cups reverse. I still want more clarity there. So that, you know, we're putting the work in. I mean, in a basic sense, I'm like, oh, you all, there's a bit of energy here around focusing on our friendships. Just focusing on our trusted support system, focusing on our trusted friendships and support system, rather than like focusing too much on higher ups, focusing too much on people with perceived power. Moving forward to like cut out some of these patterns, getting that hit of like, you know, this is where more and more and more and more people are leaving corporate jobs, are leaving jobs that taint their soul as they awaken to the corruption of the power structures and bail, right? They go elsewhere. They're like, I don't want to work for those people. Give me my keys back. Give me my, right? This is where illumination from beyond the veil is hitting like in wave form more and more and more people. There's something just really quick. Beware of rabbit holes, my lovers. This is where the discernment of the feeling sensing body in connection to what you're ingesting on any screen, because we can get lost. We can whether selling our soul to the corporation, to the work enslavement, or selling our soul to the TV screens where we just let our consciousness be led, right? We want to always bring it back, bring it back, bring it back to your heart, bring it back to your feeling sensing body. Ideally, put your bare feet on the ground herself, grass or soil, sand, sea. Ideally, harmonic, natural bodies. Ideally, if you have access to that. Being back in Canada where I grew up, I'm aware that not even certain neighborhoods, and it's a slightly distorted frequency through the overlay of the modern industrial complex. So some of you, if it's possible, drive out to an actual ancient woodland, drive out to a larger natural body of water, because like certain suburbs and or again energy grids of the cities and the towns, even the grass and the bodies of water again have been cut from their kind of true anchor, which is also all part of these the ways that we've been able to be enslaved. Okay, but again, we're waking up to, so trusting and coming into your friends, so basically more focus on like true aligned friendships, to support you through maybe cutting loose from a job and or working hard to free yourself. What is the Eight of Pentacles? Definitely. Oh, well, actually, this is for some of you who are working to be your own boss. This is definitely might only resonate with some of you, but like those of you who work alone, because maybe like there's a shift coming in. There's this shift of power, but like your own internal sense of power. So you're feeling more powerful. You've been putting the work in, leaning into your friendships. Some of you are having to just disengage from love situations, especially those of you who resonate dealing with water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. These people are reversed. These people have maybe been imbalancing you. These are the more subtle narcissistic empath dynamic. They are the more subtle ways we deny intuition and prioritize other people's needs. So coming into like a really tight circle of just your most trusted friends because you're wanting to put an end to giving your power to other and working on whatever it is that you're working on to empower yourself. You're just you, and you stepping into your power is actually overcoming conflict. These past cycles of being betrayed or being used or giving our power to other people, giving too much energy to people, denying our intuition. You know, by design, we're all meant to go through the things we're meant to go through because it's all part of our own journey. So, you know, for example, someone like me, all of my own personal experiences in life are part of me integrating the teacher, right? Like, so that I have these experiences of following the intuition, of being led, of the subtle ways that our inner child wounding. So our mother father wounds and the subtle ways that those can still corrupt and or not corrupt, but again, like lead us astray with regards to personal power. How our ultimate compassion is listening to intuition rather than making excuses to keep listening and fueling other people's egos. You know, so some of us, it's all very individual and unique. There's a trust in the right people finding ourselves, right? And that there's an ebb and flow of constellation and growth and expansion. But that's also part of the personal internal connection to the divine, because that's infinite. This is where people talk about the Akashic record. It's all contained forevermore. There's definitely quite a strong energy here of like working alone. So dominantly that makes me think that a lot of you are who are going to be resonating the most with this reading are those of you who like work alone in a studio, alone in your home, and or those of you building a business, working at night alone or working in the early morning hours, right? You're becoming your own emperor. Some of you might even, because you've got 6, 7, 6, 8, and 10. Some of you might actually, like, things could really shift and change to the point because the 10 of Pentacles, but also mainly that Emperor energy. I'm like, some of you are going to be going from working alone, constant working alone, to employing people. Just saying. Some of you are just through diligence of work, you are going to have a shift work-wise. That means that you're going to need to, like, all the money you're pulling in from this project or hustle that you're doing, not that I'm a propagator of hustle, but like however you're working on flow. The thing is with the 8 of Pentacles, you could say like you're digging it. Like, I want to be here with you now. That's this whole like divine alignment, whatever. It's like you do something you love, you never have to work, because it's just an effortless zone flow. So this Eight of Pentacles, like, this is work you've been doing and wanting to do, and you're doing it and you're working at it, and growth, expansion, moving through different lessons and layers at different phases of resource and growth, right? And then the Emperor, so 10 of Pentacles with Emperor makes me think of like you're gonna have a boost, for just example, right? A boost of sales where that sudden boost of sales means, oh my gosh, I probably need to employ somebody to deal with customers or deal with the tech or whatever it might be. Okay, so that's good. And then I mean also, because there's an end of a cycle, and this is again relevant specifically those of you who are probably just leaning on a couple really tight friends rather than like um focusing on romantic stuff, because there's some integration going on with the romance. Like you're having to rest that and heal maybe some reverb of people that imbalanced you before, because why? They're the reverse. So these are when we're in cycles where we're attracting people who don't give a shazam about us and are not in their integrity, but they might mirror us, they might love bomb us, right? All of those things. And then, but truly they're pushing us into our greater autonomy and our empowerment, because it's not true justice, it's a denial of self, which leads us back to like how and in what ways do we deny intuition to feed and or put people on a pedestal that ends up not being in alignment of our higher mission, soul purpose, or just greater joy, right? Divine guidance here. There's something the work, okay, work, and then there is something about investment, but discerning the messages that come in. Think of it like, I want to feel lit up, but not ungrounded. I want to feel like excited, but clear. So especially when it comes to dealing, like say you're even going to employ people, take your freaking time, right? People that come into our world and make an offer, take your time discerning the energies. Overcoming conflict. But I would still say maybe more so on the business level, but maybe on the love stuff, you're just really get clear on what you want for you and your healing. Because I saw that Mother of Wands, especially reverse, makes me think of like we're still needing to protect ourselves, okay? Very much. We still need to protect ourselves, you know, okay, so within protection, I would say we need to protect ourselves, but we also, what was the other word I was getting? Protection and preparedness. They kind of go together. So when when anchored in your protective energy bubble, will also guide you in the appropriate direction to be prepared. Yeah. Be prepared. That could look like buying up loads of rice and beans. That could look like learning how to ferment food. That could look like maybe wanting to grow your own food. That could look like making sure that your crew are like ride or die crew in the new paradigm, awareness of maybe off-grid living. That star card is giving me the when you wish upon a star. There's the ideal of the manifestation vibration as well, is that we're manifesting feelings, not stuff. The only reason we think we want the stuff is to actually create the feeling. So it's mastery over the feeling vibratory. That is what helps us to anchor in a grounded way material mastery. Okay? It's not the other way around. If anything, when it's the other way around is when we have way more volatile, intense lessons to learn from with regards to the ego and usually power and control stuff. Mastering feelings, right? Heart-centered connection. The body, herself, himself, right? And then continuing to regenesis and work in that sort of Christed regenesis from the external reality of the ownership of that until there's no density left and there's no need for the external control. And that's when material mastery is truly being anchored. But often is the case, maybe for some of us, that mastery energy is going to be pretty knowingly anchored before any material manifestation. But saying that, in the cards, we're in it now. Now we are beginning to manifest that dominion over the material world and breaking free from the delusion of false control. So we're no longer giving power to the so-called authority. There, see? I told you guys. That's the manifestation card. One more card pull for my lovers. See, when you're really in the star energy, you are both the higher harmonic of the high priestess and the devil. That's about knowing your darkness. Not denying the darkness, knowing the darkness. And knowing your queendom, knowing your goddess, knowing your angels, right? So that's also part of manifestations of the higher dreams for the totality of a better world, not in an oppressive enslavement construct. Know the devil. Know the devil himself. Because it's in knowing and integrating that allows you to hold and consciously choose the light. Yeah? Divine guidance, love, and clarity. That's also introspection of the 12th house, right? I'm hearing that. What's the final message? What is the final message? Yeah, again, some of you, there's just this sort of, there's still like some alone time. You're still on your own for a bit here. 12th house introspection. That's the one I saw. That's the one that wants to come out. Only for a few of you. The reason I think, part of the reason, because I'm looking down at seeing confrontation, opposition. There's some pretty radical stuff going on in the world right now. And I would say, if you would prefer to just spend some time on your own in introspection, that would be quite useful, because otherwise, if you engage and go out there into the world, there could be some confrontation. And that also is on a note to the broader geopolitical, that there's, bombs, wars, and clashes afoot. I think that's the signature of Mars squaring off with Uranus, plus I think some moon activity, which is people popping off, right? People confronting. Yeah, so if you're more spiritually inclined, withdrawal, hold space, come into your divine unity, and hold space for the totality of these confronting energies that we'll be witnessing via our screens, some of us in our actual physical reality. So may peace be with us all, and also with you, MJ. Oh, thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for being here. Thank you for subbing and liking my content. Those of you who've been with me for many, many, many years, I have so much love for you, and I'm so grateful for your presence. And of course, my patrons, I love you guys to bits. You guys really help to support this channel. And over the years, the live share crew that are mostly now the patrons. So thank you for supporting me and my my lovely little brand. And feel free to check out the store, the shop. My website is where you can book your own private tarot readings and or sign up for a yoga consultation to see if we'd be a good fit for doing yoga together online. It's all online. So thank you all so much. Have a great day. Peace out. And look after yourselves. Look after yourselves and your loved ones out there. Yeah. Trust y'all intuition to keep yourself protected and safe. Okay. Peace out, you guys.